morning, a beautiful day indeed to you, and I warmly welcome you to Morning Delight. I am Toju Slater, and I'm excited to bring to you a mix of inspiration, entertainment, and of course, updated information. Let's kickstart the program with some inspirational quotes to keep you motivated. Welcome back. Up next is Fit and Fresh, and today we are going to be treating skipping.
A form of the exercise body that hits the calves, thighs, shoulders and arms at once. It is a full body workout that burns fat fast. 10 minutes of skipping to 30 minutes of jogging can help burn up to 100 to 170 calories depending on the intensity and body weight. Skipping was used as a form of fitness tool in ancient China, dated back to around 1,000 years ago. In ancient Egypt and Phoenicia were reported to jump veins as part of body weakness and part of body fitness.
When you skip, all of your body is involved in skipping. Your hands, your leg, you have to jump high, So I think the major difference is that all of your body parts are engaged, are parts of the exercise. Those of us who live sedentary lifestyle, which is not the best, you really need to sweat it out, engage yourself in one activities or the other to really boost your energy level.
Exercise is very, very good, because sitting for a place for a long time will make your legs to be dull, and the blood now will flow down to the leg. That's why you see some people, their leg will be swollen up.
For would-be lovers of skipping, start safely skipping 2 to 3 minutes, then rest for about 30 seconds. Repeat 5 times. Focus on form. Small jumps, 1 to 2 inches off the ground. Land softly on the balls of your feet. Keep elbow close to ribs. Rotate rope and twist, not arms. Increase the duration of your workout as the weeks and months goes by. Maintain absolute fitness today by skipping calories.
Welcome to the guest segment of Morning Delight. And May 23rd worldwide marks the International Day for Obstetric Fistula. And the theme of this year is "Our health is a right. Invest to end obstetric fistula and childbirth injuries." We have a very special guest, a specialist in the field, is Dr. Iliogben Sunday Adeoye. is the pioneer medical director of the National Specialist Obstetric Fistula Center in Ugbo, here in Benin City. We'll take a look at his profile picture, and after then, you will meet him. Welcome back to Morning Delight. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You're welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Please, what is obstetric fistula all about?
Obstetric fistula is a childbirth injury. Okay. We use it to define urogenital fistulas that are related to childbirth. Okay. Maybe if I may break that down a bit more. Situation arise where a woman trying to give life ends up having a hole in her vagina between an abdominal communication between the bladder and the vagina. So urine will no longer be coming out through the normal pathway, through the urethra meatus. The urine will now be coming out through an abdominal pathway from the bladder into the vagina. Okay. Likewise, posteriorly, it can also happen that there is leakage of fecal matter into the vagina from the rectum. All that related to childbirth, we refer to it as obstetric fistula. In other words, what I just described now is vesicovaginal fistula and rectovaginal fistula, and sometimes ureteric fistula, where the ureter is injured. Okay, all those are injuries related to childbirth.
Okay.
With abnormal leakage of urine and of feces uncontrollably through the vagina. So that sums up obstetric fistula. There are other causes of fistulas, but once it's related to childbirth, we say it's obstetric fistula.
Okay. Thank you very much. Why is obstetric fistula regarded as a hidden condition?
It's a hidden condition because the sufferers, because of the scourge associated with it, the ostracization associated with it, the stigmatization associated with it, those who are suffering from the condition would not want people to know, because the women carry themselves with dignity. Women carry themselves with pride. Okay, they maintain themselves. So when you now have a situation that tends to subtract from their dignity, it's not something they want to announce.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so for that reason, they have to be silent about it. They only come out when they know that when there's a hope of a cure. That's when they come out. So the very indigent ones who cannot afford the surgery are ostracized. They are abandoned by their husbands. But the ones who are affluent, who still come down with it, because the disease, the scourge is not a respecter of social status. Okay. Those who are well-to-do, or who are in the urban society, they use Pampers, okay, to collect the urine and the feces. While those in the village who cannot afford Pampers, those ones eventually use rags, cloths, and all that. So it's not something you want to advertise if there's no hope of a cure. So you be quiet about it if you unfortunately have the condition. So that's why it's more or less
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did the United Nations set aside May 23rd worldwide to mark the International Day for Obstetric Fistula?
The nations of the world globally view obstetric fistula as a serious assault on the health of the woman. That's actually what it is. It's an assault on the health of the woman. And of course, no woman, no nation. Okay, the burden of nation building, everything rests squarely on the shoulders of the woman, even though women tend to deceive ourselves. Because the woman is a home builder, and it's a home that makes up the nation.
Very true.
So when you now have a situation where some women are compromised and they are unable to contribute their quota to nation building, through home building and all that, even the unable to contribute to the social economic milieu of the family and the nation, it's a serious problem. So it's a great concern to the United Nations and also to Nigeria. So that's why a day was set aside for all these and so many reasons to drive home the point that there should be collective action to wipe out this scourge globally by the year 2030. So every year we commemorate this day to advocate, to draw attention to sensitize, to create awareness globally that this condition has to come to an end. And the United Nations decided to fix a target that even as they are working through the SDGs, the aim ultimately is to ensure that this condition is eradicated by the year 2030. Whether we'll achieve it or not is another matter, but at least a target date has been set. All hands are on deck to make sure that at least if we do, even if we don't achieve it by 2020, we'll be very close to achieving it.
I pray we achieve it. I will get there someday. How common are cases of obstetric fistula here in Nigeria?
Regrettably, Nigeria contributes the highest burden to the global burden among the Committee of Nations to the global burden of obstetric fistula. We contribute close to 40% of the global burden of obstetric fistula. And of course, the government has always said that it's unacceptable. And so that gives you an idea of what we are talking about, okay, our contribution to the global burden. Now, if you now distill or crystallize this information I've given you across the zones, then you see that the northern part of the country has a greater burden than the south.
Oh, really?
Okay, than the southern part of the country. However, the burden both in the north and the south is worrisome and is significant and is unacceptable.
Okay, so you said the northern body has a higher rate of obstetric fistula than the south. What factors contribute to that?
Like we know, in the northern part of the country, we tend to have more of teenage marriage. Okay. The fundamental problem, I think I may need to step back a bit and explain some more.
Good.
The challenge with obstetric fistula is that we have a woman, whether the matured woman of the south or the teenage woman of the north. The bottom line is that we have a woman whose pelvis is inadequate for that particular baby that she's carrying to come out through the vagina. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying.
Yes, I am.
So the fetus, the baby in question, the fetus in question is in excess, the presenting part of the baby, usually the head, is in excess, is bigger than the road for so many reasons that I don't want to go into, because to go into obstetric jargons and all that. Okay, so it's bigger, the presenting part of the fetus is bigger than the passage. So the passenger is bigger than the passage, which is the maternal pelvis. Okay, so what should happen is a timely cesarean section to bring out that baby. So if for any reason that cesarean section is not done timelessly, we move from what we call cephalopelvic disproportion to obstructed labor to prolonged obstructed labor. And when the woman gets to that stage of prolonged obstructed labor, the labor has been there for 18 hours, 2 days, 3 days. What happens essentially is that the presenting part of the fetus, which is usually the head in most cases, compresses on the maternal soft tissue of the vagina and the bladder against the pubic bone of the woman that is in front. Okay, the bone in front of the female pelvis is the pubic bone. So the head of the baby, which is a bone itself, okay, the fetus skull, compressing the maternal soft tissue of vagina and bladder against the bone in front, cutting off the blood supply, which is what we refer to as ischemia. And once the blood supply to the tissue is occluded, for whatever reason, that tissue will eventually die if that occlusion is sustained. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Of course.
And once there is tissue death, a hole will form. And that's where the urine will be draining through. Likewise, at the back, the presenting part of the baby, the head, compressing on the vagina, the rectum, against the sacral bone at the back. Cutting off the blood supply, ischemia again. Then there's necrosis, that the tissue dies because of prolonged occlusion of the blood supply. And again, a hole now forms through which the feces, through which fecal matter emits through the vagina. You get it? Now, whether is a teenage girl of the, whether it's a teenager of the north or the matured woman of the south, the bottom line is that both of them are carrying babies in excess of their pelvic capacity, and the solution is a timely cesarean section. So when that cesarean section, for whatever reason, is not done timelessly, you end up from cephalopelvic disproportion, obstructed labor, prolonged obstructed labor, and a VVF results. In most cases, she loses the baby. The cesarean section is eventually done to bring out a dead baby, and days later, she begins to leak urine and feces, or urine, or in very bad cases, both urine and feces. What you will ordinarily call, what you will call pathetically double jeopardy. You've lost the baby. The 9 months labor ended up with a dead baby because cesarean section was not done on time, and also the woman begins to leak urine and feces through the vagina.
Viewers, let's take a break now. When we return, the discussion with Professor Iliogben continues. Stay tuned.
Do you live in Aduawa and environs, or you need a conducive and open field in Aduawa for your wedding receptions, birthday parties, annual ceremonies, family or corporate events in a serene and conducive environment that is close to nature? Then look no further. NTA Benin Aduawa is a place for you. NTA Benin Aduawa has a large field for all your events and ceremonies. Also, at NTA Corporate Headquarters TV Road, we have a state-of-the-art fully air-conditioned ultra-modern hall for all kinds of indoor events with a standby generating set, therefore ensuring uninterrupted power supply. We also have NTA Pavilion for all outdoor events at the same venue. Guess what? Our prices are affordable, locations are easily accessible, venues conducive and highly secured. Our outside broadcast van is available 24 hours and can broadcast your events live. And above all, you can air your events on our award-winning program like Events and Style. And any booking on the field or hall gets a bonus of free news coverage. Wow! What are you waiting for? Grab this opportunity and have your celebration in a grand style. For inquiries and bookings, please call NTA Benin, the award-winning station.
Yes, sir. All the way straight to Mama Miracle. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For quality tester material, I say, come Mama Miracle. You need them pressure shrebi. You know what disappoint you. No be lie.
See clarity, see plenty Ashwebi for Mama Miracle Store. EJ Mama Miracle Store. This one too much see all kind of waxy, whether na London wax, Nigerian wax, high target, Hollandis, brocade, Kampala, lacy, Yasek hair tie. All day whether for 1x1 retail or for plenty boku buy of wholesale. Mama Miracle Store, we get all boku. Make you come collect her now. No need to the holla say I want Ashwebi. Now only 20 I see. I not see reach 50. Foul. Mama Miracle Store. You don't get that now. Any kind design where you want it. Any amount of number where you want it. Mama Miracle Store get them. Make you waka enter. See sit down for the head office 211 Motala Muhammad Way. The story building where they near Ekiosa for 30 Sekula. Mama Miracle Store. This one a big miracle.
Welcome back, viewers. Now, Prof, what could be done to prevent the cases of obstetric fistula complications in generally?
Okay. One of the things that need to be done, which Nigeria is already doing greatly, is to come up with a strategy of prevention and strategy for treatment. Okay, so a two-pronged approach. Because if you continue treating without putting in place a preventive strategy, the water will continue to wet the floor. You need to lock the tap.
Yes.
So as you are mopping, even before you begin to mop the floor, you need to put in mechanisms to lock the tap while mopping the floor. So it's a two-pronged approach. One, lock the tap. Second, mop the floor. Put in simple terms, prevention, okay, disrupting the conveyor belt, the factors that bring in new cases, while at the same time operating on those who already have it. So on the prevention side of it, the government is doing a lot to make sure that women have free cesarean section. So a lot is being done for indigent women and the vulnerable population to have free cesarean section across the country. Then, of course, you have 4 national fistula centers across the country. You have in Abakaliki, you have in Katsina, you have in Ningi Bauchi State, and of course you have the one, the most recent, the one in Benin. All of them provide free treatment courtesy of the federal government. So those are the two-pronged approach. Then of course you need to go further than that, because one thing is for the treatment for cesarean section to be free, the other thing is for the women to avail themselves of the cesarean section. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
The one thing is for government to put in place an intervention. The other thing is for the woman to know about it
and to take advantage of the opportunity.
So a lot needs to be done, and that takes us to the theme of the day to end fistula. Okay. The theme, which is invest. When we hear the word invest, it's not just investing money. Even you can invest in information dissemination. Because the woman needs to know that there are centers across the country where a vulnerable woman, a woman who is indigent, can actually go and have free cesarean section. She needs to have that information. That is part of the investment, and I'm happy that NTA is investing that today.
Yes.
Then further, the woman needs to know, the woman who has the condition needs to know that there are places, there are centers across the country, and for the South-South geopolitical zone, it is the National Obstetric Fistula Center along Ubo Community Road. That is the place, the temporary site for the free treatment, rehabilitation, of women who have this condition. So when you combine the two, the free treatment, the prevention, then information dissemination, awareness creation, sensitization, so that people will know about the preventive strategies of government and people will know about the curative strategies of government. When you cumulatively all this sum up, then we eventually kick out obstetric fistula from the country.
Okay. Can you give us an overview of what the repair process, looks like?
Okay. The repair process, the surgery can last from as small as 30 minutes to over 4 hours. Okay, because you can have a small, relatively small fistula, and you can have situations where the fistula is so severe, the vaginal loss, the loss of vaginal tissue is so enormous that as you are looking at the vagina, you are examining the patient, the whole anterior vaginal wall and the bladder is gone, but you are looking directly at the ureters as they bring in urine into the vagina. So you are looking at a woman's vagina in the theater, and you are seeing the two ureters as they are bringing in urine. That gives you an idea of the enormity, the gravity, the amount of tissue, vaginal and bladder tissue that has been lost for you to see the ureters as they bring in urine. The same thing, and almost your fist can enter. The same thing for the rectum. You can also have a very, very severe condition with enormous tissue loss of the posterior vaginal wall, that the whole feces as it's coming out is just coming out through the vagina. And because of that, you have the smell. That's what is responsible for the smell associated with these patients. The urine and the feces. And of course, you have flies. And women do not understand, their fellow women do not understand why there's always smell associated with this woman, no matter the packaging. There's always smell associated with her, no matter the perfume. Okay, and then they now begin to discriminate against the woman. And in a local community, they think she has committed one abomination. And it's because of the abomination the gods have chosen to visit her with this scourge to punish her openly for what she has done in secret. But I wonder what the men do in secret. The punishment visited on them by those same gods. I wonder, maybe because the gods are men, so the gods don't punish them, they don't punish men. Anyway, so that's why that's the social aspect of the condition. Discrimination by society. The husbands abandon them because the husbands, most of the husbands find it difficult to continue to cohabit in that setting. So it's a condition that is also associated with a lot of social issues. Then of course you have the other gynecological issue. It usually happens during the first childbirth. And like I told you, in over 90% of cases, there will be no evidence, no living child to show.
To show it.
And subsequently, she may not be able to get pregnant again. So it's something that really should be kicked out. No woman should suffer it at home.
Okay. So
it is preventable. It's preventable, and of course, largely curable as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Talking of cost, how affordable is the fistula repair?
Okay, ordinarily, if you go to the private sector, of course, you pay a lot of money for it. Okay, and then the government is aware that the women who suffer this condition, a large proportion of them are among the poorest of the poor. That's why they didn't have a timely cesarean section. Okay, one of the reasons why they may not have had a timely cesarean section, why they moved from cephalopelvic disproportion to obstruction to prolonged obstructed labor, in a large proportion of cases because of financial incapacity. Okay, so for that reason, the government now decided to create these 4 centers I mentioned to provide free care. Okay, so if you go to the 4 centers I mentioned, particularly, especially the one here in Ubo, along the Ubo Community Road here in Benin, which is meant to serve the entire South-South geopolitical zone and the adjoining zones, the treatment is free.
Oh, beautiful.
Courtesy of the government, the federal government. And of course, the feeding also is free. And they're also entitled to a particular sum to assist them with transportation back home.
Okay.
So those are social interventions by the government. But if you choose to go to the private hospital where there is limited capacity, because in the private sector the capacity is limited, you get better with this surgery the more you do. Okay, so in the private sector it could be quite exorbitant. Surgery could be quite costly, expensive and costly. Okay,
talking of post-surgery challenges, what challenges do the survivors face?
One, we have issues of reintegration. I remember the first patient, this wasn't a challenge, it was a good one. The first patient I operated when the then Southeast Fistula Center at Abakaliki was established. The then Southeast Fistula Center was established in Abakaliki. The very first woman I operated there, she had actually been abandoned by the husband because of this condition. So which was a challenge. But when the husband heard that the woman was okay and was no longer wet, he came back to the family that he wanted back his wife. Which was a positive which was a positive development. Okay, it was a positive development. So, but coming back to your question, which is the challenges they face: 1, childlessness. 2, reintegration. Okay, because sometimes the men may have moved on and may not be willing to come back like that. So reintegration back to the family and back to society is another challenge. Then infertility and other gynecological issues are part of the challenge. And of course, it will take time to build the esteem, the self-esteem of such a woman. So she needs a lot of psychological support as well. Somebody who has been discriminated against, unable to go to the market, unable to partake in communal activities, unable to dilate amongst her peers, all because of this issue. We not just flowed all of a sudden in the community of women. So there are psychological issues for which they require counseling. So, but by and large, the most important solution to addressing all these challenges I've mentioned, the first thing to do is to fix the fistula successfully. Then every other thing flows from there. Because once she's no longer leaking, she's dry, you cannot begin to build on her self-esteem. You cannot begin to manage her for infertility and other gynecological issues. You cannot begin to manage the childlessness. You cannot begin to talk about rehabilitation and reintegration into the society. So everything stems from a successful surgery. When she's now dry, devoid of urine and feces, then everything flows from there. And eventually, They do very well.
Okay, going with the theme of this year, health is a right. Let's invest to end obstetric fistula. For those that have missed out on your discussion earlier, how do we help our stakeholders in this fight against to end this disease? So how do we fight and work towards come together to put an end to more of these complications?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the health of a woman is a right.
Yes.
Because everything about the family and the home hinges on the health of the mother. I don't think anybody can dispute that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, nobody can dispute that. Everything that surrounds, and the nation is made up of families. Unit families, eventually, an aggregation of unit families make up a state. As such, aggregation make up a nation. So if you want to distill a nation or a state into aggregates, you eventually distill them finally into the unit platform, which is the family. And the woman is the crown, is the jewel of that home. So her health is a right, which must be promoted and protected by all stakeholders to ensure that she doesn't come down with obstetric fistula. And if she does come down with obstetric fistula, so the fact that the family is indigent does not mean that she does not have right to health. And that's why, as part of the prevention, the government is saying that there are centers where such women can actually go for free cesarean section. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, NTA is doing its bit as a stakeholder by disseminating, using this platform to disseminate information so that those women, even in that setting, can actually go to places where they can get free cesarean section. Now, when the unfortunate happens, the woman comes down with a fistula, the investment which NTA is making today, which everyone listening to me can also make, it's not monetary, is disseminate that same information to women about the causation of obstetric fistula. Because most of these women I mentioned deliver in traditional birth attendants' home, they deliver in spiritual homes, they deliver under people that we classify as non-skilled birth attendants. So for women to stop delivering under these categories of non-skilled birth attendants, awareness has to be created, which is what we are doing here today. So that's part of, it's our collective responsibility to ensure that this health is protected. And also finally, disseminating the information as to where these women can get free treatment is part of our collective investment into ensuring that obstetric fistula is eradicated using this two-pronged approach I mentioned of prevention and curative and free treatment is eradicated by the year 2030. So it's our collective contribution. We're all investing in promoting her health, protecting her health, information dissemination, awareness creation, and all that.
Thank you very much, sir. On the final note here, what's your advice to obstetric fistula patients or survivors?
Well, let me step back a bit and mention what is my advice to women generally.
Yes. Because
we are seeing an unacceptable increase in iatrogenic fistula. It's unacceptable. Now, to the extent that about 10 to 20% of the surgeries we do now come from iatrogenesis. That's come from fistulas that occur following surgery. So my first advice would be that women should only go to, when there's a need for a surgery, women should only go to places where the specialists are for such surgeries. They should not allow themselves to be operated by people that don't have the necessary competence or skill. That's my number one advice. Otherwise, they could come down with iatrogenic fistula. We don't have time to dilate on that, but I'm just mentioning it in passing. That's one. Then two is those women who have the condition and do not know where they can get free treatment, please, I appeal to all those who are listening to me that in Edo State, in the South-South geopolitical zone, the area for the free treatment is National Obstetric Fistula Center, Ubo, along Ubo Community Road here in Benin City. Then lastly, for the fistula survivors, By the time the fistula surgery is successfully done, such women, if they do get pregnant again, because I told you there are things you can do, okay, even though they may have infertility issues, you can manage it. If they do get pregnant again, they have to register under a specialist. They have to, so the antenatal has to be under a specialist, and their delivery has to be by cesarean section. If at any time the doctor says a cesarean section is necessary and explains the scenario, I believe that the wise woman should always choose a cesarean section when the whole scenario has been properly explained to her.
Thank you very much, Professor Iliubin, for coming to the show today. And viewers, I hope you have learned a lot on obstetrics fistula prevention, and the health of a woman is a wealth. Let's invest to end obstetric fistula. That will be it for now. Let's take some adverts and we'll come back after the break.
I see trees of green.
Experience comfort, luxury and beauty in and out when you spend a night or more at Gabano Hotels and Resorts.
Think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Pay less for our comfortable suites and rooms, as your pleasure is our tax to fulfill. Find the greatest relaxation in our gardens, VIP lounge and restaurants, exquisite conference hall for meetings and seminars. Indeed, what a beautiful world at Gabano Hotels and Resorts.
What a wonderful world.
Visit us today at 3 Urbano Avenue off Benin Lagos Expressway, Benin City. Telephone 081 00438202. Gabano.
What a wonderful world.
Are you in Benin City and environs looking for an exquisite home away from home? Bronze Royal Hotels, located on Abuava Road, is the right place for you. With its spacious and highly secured environment, Bronze Royal Hotels offers lodging services in Royal Suite, Classic Suite, Deluxe Suite, VIP Lounge, and lots more, all at affordable rate. There is also a bar, pool bar, gym, restaurant, and a club within the comfort of the hotel. At Bronze Royal Hotels, 24 hours uninterrupted power supply and free internet Wi-Fi is assured. For bookings and reservations, please visit us at number 121 Akwapava Road, Benin City, or call us on 080-340-72030 or 080-55103539. Bronze Royal Hotels, a place of ultimate luxury experience.
Let's look at what we have on Artsville today.
A tattoo is a permanent or temporary marking made on the skin by inserting pigments into the dermis layer. It is the use of needles to puncture the skin and deposit ink. They are usually applied for decorative, symbolic, or identification purpose.
Tattoo is an art, or should I say a form of expression. Is a design, can be a design, can be a symbol, can be a sign on a human skin as sign of expression. So we have different type of tattoo. We have the semi-permanent tattoo and we have the permanent tattoo. The difference between those two is just one item, which is this, the pigment that is being used. The same machine can be used to do the permanent tattoo and the semi-permanent tattoo. It all boils down to the type of pigment that is being used. first thing he or she would do is get a printer to print your desired design or whatever you want to get done with this stencil paper. This stencil paper is what goes inside this machine to print out your design. The next is our transfer cream. This is what is being placed on the skin, is being rubbed on the skin. For this, whatever you've printed out, this will be this will make whatever is printed out here to transfer to your skin. This is our tattoo machine, this is our cartridge, and this is the pigment. These three work together. The cartridge goes into the machine to work with the pigment.
The primary function of tattoo in modern era is self-expression. For many individuals, it is a way to tell a story or document significant milestones. It is well known that tattoos are now widely embraced as legitimate expression of identity, memory, and personal creativity.
Up next is entertainment.
The BET Awards are back, and Nigerian has shown up across multiple categories as nominations mark their full impact. This year's ceremony is scheduled for the 28th of June 2026 at Peacock Theatre in Los Angeles, with comedian Ruski confirmed as host, making him the youngest person to take the role in the show's history. The night promises to be a big one, and the nomination reflects a music landscape where rap, R&B, and Afrobeat continues to collide. Leading Elisa Stamps, who lands in 3 categories, she earned a Best Female R&B and Pop Artist nomination, alongside Radiance, which appears in the Viewer's Choice category. Wizkid and Asake earns the Best Group nomination, one of the most competitive category on the night, while Burna Boy lands the Best Collaboration nods for his appearance on Guna's WGFT. A Spanish court acquitted Shakira of tax fraud and ordered the country's treasury to refund 55 million euro, approximately $64 million, plus interest to the Colombian superstar, bringing an end to one chapter of a legal dispute that has stretched nearly a decade. Spanish National High Court ruled the tax authorities has failed to prove Shakira spent the minimum of 183 days in the country in 2011 required to establish tax residency. The court determined she was present for 163 days that year, 20 days short of threshold, making the income tax charges and accompanying fines unlawful. In a statement following ruling, Shakira said the court had finally set the record straight after 8 years of what she described as outstretched campaign to damage her reputation, public targeting, and sleepless nights that affected both her health and family.
Our Nigerian artists are really making us very proud. So let's warm up for June 28th for the 2026 BET Awards. And a very big congratulations to Shakira. Up next is Weekly Highlights. Let's see what we've got.
The The Economic and Financial Crime Commission has arrested the former Minister of Power, Saleh Mama, who was recently convicted and sentenced by the Federal High Court Abuja for financial misappropriation while he served in that position. Mama was arrested along with 2 others whom the Anti-Graft Agency accused of protecting a convicted person. The EFCC chairman also told journalists that the commission will investigate the house where the former minister was arrested. The EFCC boss described the development as a testament to the commitment of the federal government of Nigeria's fight against corruption in the country. Mama was also sentenced to 3 years imprisonment on count 4 with an option of a 10 million naira fine and 2 years imprisonment on count 5 without any option of a fine. It was mandated that all security agencies to liaise with Interpol to ensure the arrest of Mama. Following the arrest of 2 suspected human traffickers in connection with the trafficking syndicate operation within Edo State, Lagos and Cote d'Ivoire, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Edo State Anti-Human Trafficking Unit has successfully rescued 2 girls who were trafficked to Ivory Coast by a syndicate allegedly for prostitution and exploitation. The victims, who were safely returned to Nigeria, says they were promised lucrative jobs and better opportunities abroad where they subjected to criminal treatment, prostitution and other forms of exploitation upon arrival. The commandant of Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Edo State Command, Akintayo Anila, says command has launched a full-scale manhunt for all individuals connected to human trafficking and related criminal activities across the state. The NSCDC Edo State Command says it will continue to work tirelessly with relevant agency and stakeholders to protect young citizens from becoming victims of trafficking and ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice.
Welcome back. A very good job done by the NSCDC Edo State. Let's see what we have on sports update this week.
International Cricket Council Men's T20 World Cup African Sub-Regional C qualifiers will be held in Nigeria. Nigeria last hosted the Sub-Regional C qualifiers in 2024 and won the title in Abuja with a game to spare before being denied a place at the 2026 T20 World Cup during the regional finals. This year, the Yellow Greens will be joined by Gambia, Lesotho, Mozambique, Uganda, and Zambia. The 6 countries will vie for the top 2 slots, with the successful teams advancing to the regional final next year. Meanwhile, Arsenal ended their 22 years wait to be crowned Premier League champions on Tuesday after Man City were held 1-1 by Bournemouth. After finishing second for the past 3 seasons, Mikel Arteta's Gunners have finally made it over the line to end a 6-year trophy drought. And that's it on Sport Reel.
Viewers, this is where we come to the end of the show today. I do hope you enjoyed your time, and it was a very educative one indeed. Professor Iliogben enlightened us on what obstetric fistula is, prevention, control, and how to encourage victims or survivors of obstetric fistula. Today was indeed a very interesting one, and I do hope you enjoyed yourself. Join us on Morning Delight, same time, same station next week. And do ensure to follow us on our social media channels, NTA Benin, Morning Delight on YouTube. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Sister, how can mega here? Often, penny here ya travel wa come out.
Where is Eco Best? Eco Best. I am you money I never. Just say baby na vega no about we party.
Is Eco Best? Yeah, don't
Correct! As body not the forbid cloth, now so quality and original textile material, not the